Hi there, I'm William Earnhardt. I'm a Bible worker in the Florida area, and I would like to share with you a quick Easter season devotional. In Hebrews chapter 2, verse 9, it says that Jesus tasted death for every man. Well, we all die, so how did Jesus taste death for every man? Well, when we study about death in the Bible, Jesus and Paul refer to the first death, the death before the resurrection, before the second coming, as sleep. And then the final death, or what Revelation 20 calls the second death, after the second coming, that's the destruction of the wicked, the second death. It's the ultimate death. There's no coming back from it. There's no resurrection. It's goodbye to life forever. The first death that we die ourselves is called sleep. Well, again, Jesus didn't save us from that death. We die that death ourselves. So when it says Jesus tasted death for every man in Hebrews 2:9, it's not saying that he tasted sleep for every man. He didn't taste the first death for every man. He tasted the second death. He tasted the death of the wicked, which there is no coming back from. In Obadiah 1:16, it tells us the wicked will be as though they had never been. Was this what Jesus was facing on the cross? Going into total oblivion and it being as though he never existed? I believe so. I would like to invite you to join with me, if you'd like to, in Mark chapter 14, verse 33. Jesus is in Gethsemane. And it says, "And he taketh with him Peter and James and John, and to be sore amazed, and to be very heavy." Verse 34, "And saith unto them, My soul is exceeding sorrowful unto death. Tarry ye here and watch." Well, I want us to take a look here at verse 33, where it says that he became sore amazed. You become amazed when you realize something you never knew before, right? How could the Son of God be amazed? How could the Son of God realize something he had never realized before? Well, I believe at this point in his humanity, in Gethsemane, he was realizing, experiencing for the first time as a man, the guilt of the entire world. And he knew that sin separates us from the Father. And I believe he began to feel that separation. Now, did Jesus actually die the second death? Obviously he came back. So no, he did not. But Hebrews 2:9 says he tasted it. Mark 14:33 is telling me that he's experiencing something overwhelming to his soul that he had never experienced before. And while he may have known that he was going to be resurrected, because after all, he promised the thief on the cross, but he was feeling something he had never felt before. And feeling and knowing are two different things. There are a lot of people who know that flying on an airplane is safer than driving in a car. They know people get killed in car accidents every day. People don't get killed on commercial jetliners every day or even every year, thank God. But you put some people on an airplane and they sure don't feel like it's safer. There's a big difference between feeling and knowing. And I believe that in Jesus' humanity, he began to feel as though that separation was going to be eternal. As a matter of fact, in chapter 15 of Mark, verse 34, while Jesus is on the cross, he cries out, my God, why have you forsaken me?" Now keep in mind, Jesus had always called God his Father. I and my Father are one. I always do those things that please my Father. In my Father's house are many mansions. Jesus always called God his Father, except for when he was on the cross, being treated the way you and I deserve to be treated. So you and I can be treated the way he deserves to be treated. Jesus could not call God his Father. And he cried out, my God, why have you forsaken me? And you don't forsake somebody when you leave them for half the weekend. You forsake them when you leave them forever. And I believe that is what Jesus was experiencing as he was tasting death, the second death for every man. As a matter of fact, there are accounts of when John Huss was burned at the stake for his faith during the Dark Ages, when the Reformation began. While he was burning at the stake, witnesses claimed that he was singing hymns of praise. Well, if John Huss, a mere mortal man, could be singing hymns of praise while he was burning at the stake, then why wasn't Jesus, the Son of God, singing hymns of praise while he was hanging on the cross? Instead of crying out, my God, why have you forsaken me? The answer is clear. Jesus was dying a totally different death than John Huss or anyone else has ever died. John Huss was dying for his faith, knowing that he would receive eternal life in the resurrection. I believe Jesus was tasting the death of the wicked, which Obadiah 1:16 tells us is going into total oblivion, being as though we never existed. Friends, this is why Peter talks about in 1 Peter 2:24, Jesus dying on a tree, because this was a death that nobody had died for anybody else before. Even Paul says in Romans 5 that some may die for a good person. But God commends his love for us by sending Christ to die for us while we were yet sinners. Jesus died the second death for you and me. This is a love that is unparalleled. Now, some people have said, well, wait a minute. Jesus never lost faith in his Father. He always knew he'd be resurrected. Friends, if we're going to say that the only reason Jesus went to the cross was because he knew that it was all going to be okay and he was going to be resurrected, then we have a problem. Because in Exodus 32:32, Moses asked God, if you can't forgive these people for worshiping the golden calf, blot my name out of the book of life. Moses was willing to die the second death in order to save us. Now, if we are saying that Jesus wasn't willing to do that, then we're now saying that Moses cared more about God's people than Jesus did? I don't think so. Friends, this is the one truth. Satan doesn't want us to understand. Satan does not want us to understand the depths of God's love. Satan does not want us to understand that God is love. And that is putting others first. Friends, on the cross, Jesus did not put his self-interest. He did not put his sense of self-preservation before you. He put you first. He was willing to go into total oblivion and taste the second death, the one of final destruction. And again, when Peter talks about Jesus dying on a tree, in Deuteronomy 21, 22, and 23, it tells us, he who is hung is accursed of God. If somebody were to be stoned to death in the Old Testament, they could still ask for forgiveness and have the hope of eternal life. But if they were hung on a tree, it signified that they were accursed of God. There was no hope. As a matter of fact, in Joshua chapter 10, there are 5 kings that we read about who, after years of hearing about all the wonderful things God had done for his people, still rejected God and his people. And those 5 kings fought against Joshua. Joshua slew all 5 of them. And there in Joshua chapter 10, he hung them on 5 different trees. What was the significance of that? It was showing that they had crossed the line. They had rejected God for the last time, and their probation was closed. Goodbye to life forever. This is why Peter makes such a big deal about Jesus dying on a tree. Whether it was a cross, a tree, the point was he was hung. He was accursed of God. He tasted the second death for you and me. He loved us so much, he was willing to go into total oblivion, and it being as though he never existed. Friends, this love is what has totally changed my life. And it's this love that I want to talk about until the day I die. You know, you might be watching this video thinking, William, we've already heard you preach about this. We've already heard you talk about this. You've already written blog posts about this. Yes. And I'm going to be talking about it until the day I die, because it totally changes my life. It turned the world right after the cross upside down. It changed Peter from a selfish, ambitious person to being willing to give up his life instead of denying Christ once he saw the depths of his sacrifice. And I believe that when the world sees this truth about Jesus, it will change lives today. I believe this is one of the reasons why Satan wants us to focus so much on the physical suffering, which was terrible. But I believe that's why Satan wants us to keep our focus on the physical suffering, so that we don't grasp the fact that Jesus was dying for us, the second death, that he loved us so much. He tasted death, not sleep. He tasted death for every man and was willing to go into total oblivion, and it being as though he had never existed, so that he could save you and me. Friends, this week, I want us to take a look at the depths of Christ's sacrifice, at the great love that he has for us, as we take a look at the last scenes of Christ's life. I hope you'll join me. If you have any questions or comments, I'd love to hear from you. You can comment below. Or, of course, you can reach me at racer3@gmail.com. You spell out the 3, so it's RACERTHREE @gmail.com. May God richly bless you as you study His Word during this Easter season. God bless you.